luck, young grasshoppers. This one's called Terminal Game Turn Function. You are creating a text-based terminal version of your favorite board game. In the board game, each turn has 6 steps that must happen in this order. Roll the dice, move, combat, get coins, buy more health, and print status. You are using a library, game.logic, that already has the functions below. Create a function named doTurn, which they stubbed out for us here, that calls the functions in the proper order as described in the paragraph above. That was everything after the colon here. And then they list the actual names of the methods from the game.logic library that we've brought in. See this using static game.logic. So that's all the information we need to proceed. Go ahead and code this and then resume the video when you're ready. So we have the game logic. We know that functions by these names exist in there. So it's just a matter of getting the order right and calling each of them. So we see first is roll the dice. I copied the game logic. And then I check this chart below and it's called roll dice. Very well named. And they didn't speak of any parameters, so we know that we just have these empty parentheses for each function call. So next we have move. I found that below. That's called move. The next one would be combat, named combat. These names are largely matching up. We see there's one called get coins next. Then we have buy more health, which is buy health. And then finally print status, which is print status. So that should be all we need. This is the order here, and I'll go ahead and test that. Looks good. We're ready to submit. Pretty easy challenge there, but I do like this one a lot. It kind of highlights working with others in a collaborative environment. You could imagine that you were working on this game with a friend and you kind of split up the work. In this case, you know, it could have been split up a little bit better, but just the idea that your friend could have went and wrote this game logic class while you did this kata class with doTurn and maybe some other things in there for handling the game in general, processing turns and things of that nature. So yeah, it's pretty cool because you could have met in the beginning and you just would have had to agree on this, you know, that your buddy could have said, hey, this is the public interface of the class or the library I'm making. These are going to be the methods that are available to you. And then you could have went ahead and wrote this whether or not your friend had finished game logic yet or not. Once you guys agreed this is what it was going to look like, you can go ahead and start calling these methods. And now obviously it won't work completely until the logic class is done too, but you could have gotten this work done and moved on to something else, and then whenever your friend was done with that, you're ready to rock. So I do, even though it was pretty simple and didn't have to think too much about it, I do like the idea of this challenge, and I think it's a nice move to getting more into object-oriented programming. So I'll go ahead and submit. I can't imagine how things can be much different than this, but we'll submit. And yeah, I suppose I didn't need to write out game logic because of the using statement. So this makes more sense. I should not have done that. I apologize for that. This makes more sense. It was redundant for me to write game.logic.rollDice after this statement. Now, if I had not had this statement, what I had put in before would have made more sense. But when you're going to use a library a lot, it makes more sense just to add a statement there, and then you can just simply call the method. So I should have done it that way. And that's fine. If you're working in an IDE, an integrated development environment like Visual Studio, they're going to highlight that text and tell you, look, buddy, this is redundant. You don't need to say that. And then that would have been my cue, and I would have just erased it then. But I don't get those kind of features here in the web browser, but that's okay. So there's your answer. Yeah. Hit me up with questions. Otherwise, we'll keep moving. Thanks.